Usually you can proceed now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual 57th Foundation Day program of Sibsagar Girls College. Respected Principal Mr. Buddhin Mr. Sir, Vice Principal Dr. Rita Borkotaki Ma'am, IQAC Coordinator Mrs. Dipjunali Bhia Ma'am, respected Head of the Departments, respected colleagues, faculties from other colleges, and dear student participants from different colleges. Before we begin, we pray the families of the departed souls and wish all the strength to the recovery of people. And on this note, on behalf of organizing committee, I welcome you all to this webinar on COVID-19 pandemic and Indian economy, organized by Department of Economics in collaboration with IQAC on the occasion of 57th Establishment Day of Sibsagar Girls College. To begin with the proceedings, I would like to invite our respected principal, Mr. Buddhin Mishra Sir, to kindly deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Respected Dr. R.S. Respondent, Rajiv Gandhi National Fellow, Institute of Social and Economic Change, Nagarhabi, Bangalore. Invited guest, Vice Principal Dr. Rita Borkotaki, IQAC Coordinator Ms. Dipjunali Bhia Sohoya, faculty members, non-teaching staff, and students fair of Sir College. I cordially welcome you all to this webinar organized on the occasion of the 7th Establishment Day of Sibsagar Girls College. The Sibsagar Girls College had been established way back in 1964 on 8th July. This is the first educational institution in Sibsagar district established by exclusively for women education. The college celebrated our 50 years of glorious golden jubilee in the year 2014 and 15. The alumni of the college have been serving efficiently in different capacities, not only in Assam and India, but also in abroad too. At present, the college with its three distinct campuses has been offering undergraduate programs in both arts and science, from self-financing, career-oriented courses, a Montessori school, etc., and planning to start new employment-generating courses, programs, and centers in collaboration with universities, autonomous research institutions, technical institutions, etc., for memorandum of understanding. However, on this propitious occasion, today we are very glad to have an eminent economist of India, Dr. R.S. Deshpande, and for his kind constant to grace the webinar, Dr. Deshpande, whom I know since many decades, have been being engaged in monitoring of socio-economic changes in Indian society. Indian economy at present context, as we all know, is at crossroad. Every sectors of economy confronted deadly setbacks since 2020 and is still continuing. Hence, this webinar will throw light on Indian economy during COVID-19 pandemic. Due to certain problems, we could not start the webinar in right time. I am sorry for that. With this, I conclude my inaugural speech and declare this webinar as open. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you for your inaugural address, sir. Now, I would like to introduce very briefly our resource person, Dr. R.S. Deshpande, who is a Rajiv Gandhi Fellow of Indian Council for Social Science Research in Institute of Social and Economic Change, Nagarhavi, Bangalore. He did his PhD from Marathwada University, Aurangabad, on his thesis entitled Yield Uncertainty in Maharashtra Agriculture, a study with special reference to drought-prone areas. He has to his credit many awards, including Lifetime Achievement Award as Fellow, Indian Society of Agricultural Economics Mumbai in 2011, conferred Sir M. Bishwaria Global Leadership Award for Excellence in Education by Power Development and Energy Research Institute and Sir M. Bishwaria Technological University, Belgaum in 2011. He has also conferred Honorable Member, Institute of Agricultural Technologies, Bangalore in 2009. He has also awarded PNASF National Gold Medal for Research on Agricultural Policy in 2009. His field of specialization and interest lies in agricultural development policy, agricultural statistics and applied econometrics, statistical systems and micro-level planning, international trade in agriculture, agricultural production and resource economics, social economics, etc. His working experience includes 36 years in research and teaching. Apart from that, he also conferred his duty towards administration. He has to his credits almost 18 books and monographs and also published more than 100 various articles, research paper chapters in journals and edited books. Dr. Deshpande, apart from his academic and administrative duties, also rendered his services towards several research studies, UGC, NAC, member of several academic bodies, and policy advisor to several institutions as well as organizations. We are very happy that we have been able to get you, sir. Here, I would like to say that anyone who wants to ask questions to the resource person, please use the chat box or you can directly ask the questions to our resource person. We will be noting your questions and in the end of the session, we will ask your questions to the resource person with your names. So please feel free to participate because our resource person is looking forward to interacting with
ಇಲ್ಲ
everyone
ಸರ್
and especially our
nothing very
students.
specific.
I would request our IQAC coordinator, Mr. Sanjay Das, to note the questions coming in the chat box. And we hope that we are going to have a very fruitful, interactive, and interesting session with us. Now, I'd like to hand over the microphone to our respected resource person, Dr. Deshpande, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Josnali. And I must thank. Are you able to hear me? Are you able
Yes,
to hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Josnali, and special thank to Professor Mishra because he's something who was very dear to me during our days in Pune. I was very pleased that I could get in touch with him. Now, Josnali, there is one thing that I need to share the screen. Can I share it from here?
Yes, sir, sure.
Or do you want to make me co-host so that I can share it easily?
You can share, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, please go to share screen.
Has it come?
Oh yes, it is sharing, sir.
No, it's difficult. Can you?
So it was visible, but now it is not visible.
Please you go to share screen
Yes,
and share the entire screen.
that is exactly I've done. Are you able to see?
No, not visible, sir.
It's still not there. The screen which is getting shared is what you are able to see. This is not the screen.
Yes, it
No,
is
this
now
is not the
visible.
screen. This is not the screen.
Directly go to your slide, sir.
No, are you able to see first slide? I already put this slide on.
Again, it was not visible, sir.
बाकी वालों साझा करी क्या
Abhijit, can you add him as co-host?
You have to do that way. That is the only way. No, the screen is not to be seen here to share it. You see, you may be able to see this. If I share it, what is shared is this screen.
It is visible. It is.
No, my screen is visible in which I am there, you are there,
Yes,
everyone is there.
yes.
That is,
Your skin is.
that is
You
not
read
what I
that.
am. That is not what I am trying to show. I am trying to show my screen, but it is not coming. What?
Yes, your entire skin is visible, and now you can go to your file and open the presentation, sir.
Are you able to see now?
Oh yes. The presentation
You
is
are able to
visible.
see the presentation.
Yes, and
The
now
first.
you can. Yes, it is in on slideshow mode, and
Okay.
now you can present.
Okay. You can read that Indian economy in COVID first
Yeah,
slide.
yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this webinar. It is a pleasure to talk to you all in this webinar, specifically when my friend Professor Mishra is there. I must congratulate you all for arranging this particular webinar. We are at a very turning point in Indian economy, specifically because of this pandemic. About exactly 100 years back, there was a pandemic in 1920, which had caused huge problem in the Indian economy. At that time, we were under the British rule, and Britishers were to manage the entire pandemic. At least a few million deaths had taken place, and many villages had become almost abandoned. The number of dead bodies carried in many carts loaded one above another. We did not have the experience again. Unfortunately, 1920 is the experience that we have now undergone. Mortality is one thing which has caused a severe impact. But the second thing is what you see in the first slide, the huge out migration of people, and out migration means you leave the job and go out. Second, making the people poor to beg, even sit in the queue in order to get their own food because they are not able to earn. Third, As an aggregate, Indian economy was growing like anything till 2019. We were almost riding the seventh cloud, but suddenly this shock brought India to the ground. To the dismay of many of us, and maybe with pleasure for some others. Now, today's travelogue, today's lecture, I would be covering about 6 points, specifically trying to get into the macro aspects first. The economic retrogression, that is where we prepared, and then the unexpected pandemic, economic implications of migration, negative externality, and the famous Lewisian transfer. Lewisian transfer is for those who are undergraduate. Arthur Lewis had put up a phenomena saying that if agriculture has to register a very positive contribution and growth rate, then the redundant labor from agriculture or the low paid labor from agriculture should be transferred to the more modern sector, and that will make the economy in a equilibrium, in the sense that larger labor will be transferred to non-agriculture sector. Now I will be taking long-term view of agriculture, manufacturing, international trade, and the services. Lastly, I will not be pleading with you that we have lost everything. We haven't. We have got out of many such challenges in front of us earlier. Okay. The first thing that I would like to present in front of you is this usual thing where we have the trends of sectoral shares to gross value addition in India. Gross value addition is what each sector contributes to the total of the economy. And what you can see is that there are three lines. The dotted line is services sector. The thick black line in the agriculture sector, and the thin black line is the industrial sector. Now you can see from 50-51 onwards, what is the contribution of which sector? Once upon a time, agriculture used to contribute almost about 59% of the total gross value addition, and which has come down to about 18%. And the sector which has improved very well is services sector. Services in the sense hotels, industry, construction, etc. Small industries, the unorganized sector, roadside vendors, and all that. The third one is the manufacturing sector. That is this thin black line. Now, manufacturing sector has been contributing to about 30%. It had started from 12%, 18% to about 30%. It is contributing now. Now, the issue is that agriculture has been losing ground, which is natural because it's a low paid sector and low value added sector. The high value added sector is services sector, and that is why services sector is increasing. But then there is a problem about the services sector. That services sector is a temporary, it's like a balloon. It can get punctured at any time, and then the balloon punctures, it's only a small rubber that is available to us, nothing else. Therefore, services sector, large amount of employment is of temporary nature or casual nature. Whereas in the industrial sector, that is manufacturing sector, employment is more or sustained employment. In agriculture, it's a floating employment because some of them, they continue to work in agriculture. Some of them, they show themselves as agricultural workers, but work actually in the construction industry, making the roads, or constructing the houses, big buildings, etc. in the larger cities. Now, therefore, the services sector is a balloon. If it breaks, what happens is that the employment which is here or the unemployment created here is likely to enter into this. Similarly, those casually employed here are likely to slide down here. After making this point, let me see what is the rural economy share. Now, the rural economy is different than agriculture economy. Rural economy is something which is aggregate money generated from all the sectors in rural areas. Now, as far as the economy is concerned, it's 47 or 48% of the aggregate economy is controlled by rural India. and 70% or 71% of the workforce is controlled by rural India. Therefore, there is a strength of rural economy, and if the rural economy is impacted, then unfortunately we will be having a terrible problem. What had happened in the pandemic or before pandemic is something, this is industrial sector which was growing at about 5% on an average, and suddenly it started dropping down from here. That is from 16, 17 onwards, it was continuously dropping down, and it dropped down in the pandemic years also. As far as the agriculture sector is concerned, it was also growing slightly less than at 5%, that is 4.9% or so. It again had a slight down from 16, 17 onwards, and that fortunately did not go down like this, but kept itself at this level, something around 3.5%. Then we have the growth slump, which was experienced well before the pandemic. The GDP growth went down during that time, just when the pandemic struck us, by 1.8% to 2.8% from what was growing at 6.3%. Fiscal deficit was increasing, and the growth was to rebound at 5% in 22. That was the expectation. But that did not happen. What happened was, from 2011-12, I have shown you, or you can see, how Indian economy has improved or deteriorated. Initially, from 11 onwards till 12-13, it was going down like anything, touched 5.4%, slightly increased for a year and again went down. But then it started improving. From 13-14 onwards, it started improving, and the improvement was ups and downs were there. But you can see from here, it had reached up to here. That is, this is 13-14 quarter 1 to this is 16-17 quarter 1, which means from 13-14 to 16-17, there was, I'll draw that line for those children who possibly will correctly understand. This is pen. Who will understand it far better. You see, this is the line. This is the kind of thing which was growing from 13-14 to 17 quarter 1. From 17 quarter 1, it started dropping down just incidentally till 17-18. 16-17 quarter 1 to 17-18, it started dropping down, and this drop down was like this. And then again increased till 18-19. We were hopeful here that economy is improving, but then the COVID struck exactly at this point. And what happened after this point? Continuously, the growth or the growth trajectory of GDP started sliding down continuously every year. Now, this is true, because I'm not telling you something which is a rocket science. I'm telling you something which can be expected. See, during those years, when the COVID struck in the first wave, 1920, after March, hotels were closed, railways were closed, airports were closed, all malls were closed, all shops were closed, everything had standstill. All the unorganized sector labor or unorganized sector was closed. Nowhere vendors were on the roads. Nobody was selling on the roads. The selling shops were closed. In fact, small shops, some shops were running. Now, if everything is like that, international flights were closed, international trade was closed. If everything is like that, GDP has gone down. There is no magic with which GDP can increase when every economic activity was almost standstill. Therefore, it is redundant to say that GDP has gone down during this period, but it will have to go down as we had more or less closed everything. Now, the projected growth of GDP by various people was something, the best growth was, best projections were somewhere here. You can see the best projections come around average here. That is IMF projection. This is IMF projection. And that is exactly coming true, that Indian economy is going down by about 3.5%, but aggregate, that is in nominal terms 7.3%, which means that we needed to pick it up. But from 2005-6, not now, 2005-6, if you see the long-term trends in investment and savings, what is happening to gross domestic saving is going down from 2005 onwards. You can see gross domestic saving is going down. And why am I worried about it? When the savings go down, the investment also goes down. But where is the money to invest, and where is the money to have new enterprises? And the savings and investment trend, which was from 2005-6, or rather 2006-7, it is been completely sliding down. And this is a long-term trend. It is not because of COVID. It was an historical trend of investment and the savings going down. Now, then the COVID struck. And what is the anatomy of COVID? Exactly this way. The anatomy of COVID was outside impact is seen here, but the greater impact is here. The virus is actually here. These are only the protein nodes which get stuck to the nose, inside the nostrils or inside the throat, and then it opens up in order to release this virus inside. The economy also was exactly like that. The protein nodes are the ones, the actions taken by the people at large, and the virus sending inside is the economic impact on the economy. Now, it had stuck India with sufficient warning. It had come from outside. And certainly the first patient when came to Thrissur in Kerala, the warning was very clear. Unfortunately, it was not reported to the Indian Medical Association. It was not investigated properly in Thrissur. It was rather treated very casually. That, oh, anyway, one type of virus which has come from China. The person had come directly from Wuhan through Trivandrum and went to Thrissur. Now, that was exactly the starting point from where it started. And then it started moving across the hospitals and across the country, because many people started coming out from China, entering into Mumbai, entering into Delhi, entering into Bangalore, entering into Trivandrum, entering into various places. And these people, in the initially till February end, nobody was checked properly. And some of the people, having fear to get quarantined, they had swallowed one kerosene as soon as they entered the aircraft, and they did not have temperature when they got down the airport in India. The temperature was checked, and when the temperature was not there, they considered no COVID. The same thing is true today. When you enter the college, temperature is checked. But that does not mean that you don't have COVID. That does not mean you don't have COVID. You don't have temperature is the only thing that gun-like thing shows you. It is shown on your wrist and you are checked. It shows only you don't have temperature. It doesn't anyway tell that you don't have COVID or you don't have virus infection. It tells only that. Even now, the scientists have not found out anything that can quickly tell a COVID patient away from the other patient within a few minutes. It still has to get into it. Now, initially, neither the government nor the people took a real serious note. It exposed our health disaster preparedness. We are not at all prepared in the health disaster, and that is what was completely bared open. I don't know if that is the reason why Harshvardhan has been shifted from cabinet rank to no rank. He has been shifted from health minister out. A cabinet minister has been stripped down the portfolio. Now, another cabinet minister of health has been placed today. But then we have to see what happens exactly. Because whether the minister is there or minister is not there, it is finally the public which has to make or break the entire pandemic. The social irresponsibility, what we call it as social responsibility, is one thing. But social irresponsibility is one thing which we amply demonstrated. The Indian population has demonstrated it so strongly. And even now, in order to get the third wave, we are likely to demonstrate the same irresponsibility. The cities which are boasted as having the best medical facilities, like Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, are the cities which recorded the highest number of COVID patients. And they were not prepared. They were prepared for sophisticated operations. They were prepared for transplant. They were prepared for heart surgeries. They were prepared for kidney transplant. They were prepared for liver transplant. There were hospitals which are 5-star hospitals, but did not have space to enter for the people who are commoners. And therefore, those who did not have facilities, in fact, died out of the hospital. There is one thing which you might have heard, that the actual number of patients died and the patients reported to have died, there is a vast difference. Yes, there is a vast difference because many people prefer to die at home. They can't afford 20,000 a day or 12,000 a day. They can't afford. So they prefer to die at home, and they did not have admissions to the hospitals. There are many villages where the facility like oxygen or ventilator is not even seen for ages. What happened? Last 70 years, we have neglected the villages. We have neglected the rural areas for health facilities. Even in Orissa, you go to a remote village and you will find that the doctor is not there in PHC. In fact, sometimes for delivery, a lady has to be taken on the khatia to the primary health center in order to get delivery done. And there also, the nurse is not available, lady doctor is not available. The health infrastructure of this country for last 7 decades has not been developed, has not even been thought of. And that was the responsibility of 7 decades of various governments. I have nothing to do with any government, but various governments over time. And we kept the health infrastructure of rural areas completely in shackles. Unfortunately, large number of deaths had taken place in rural areas, but we have reported only from the urban areas. Now, what happened to the cities? In the urban areas, during this March 1st, 2021, that is March 1st, 2021 to May 5th, 2021, you can see that slowly it was increasing. But these are the badly hit cities, that is Mumbai, Chennai, Pune, Bangalore, and Delhi. You know it well that all these cities have the best infrastructure in the country. In fact, people from various countries come to these cities in order to get medical facilities, and that is called medical tourism is developed. We have hospitals which are far, far better than 5-star hotels. But then who can afford this? One day stay costs 20,000. Just day, not night. And you go as an outpatient, as such, you have to pay 10,000 at the counter and go in. Now, these are the cities which are prepared. Now, second wave is rising dangerously. That's what we were told. And by March 2021, almost 60%. And you see, this graph was turning down. Now, slowly, it is coming under the control. But then, people possibly are ensuring that we come down here and again increase. So this is the possibility of the third wave, which we are giving strongly. The daily program, you can see after March, April, May, and it is slightly increasing. It is not at this level. It is not at this level. It is coming down. It had come up to here, and again it started rising. Now it had again drop down, but it may again rise as third wave. The aggregate impact of this has been in thousands of crores, and this thousands of crores is something which is estimated by Times. You can see that Maharashtra alone has 4,72,000 crores loss, which is 15% of the total. If you total this up, it is thousands of crores loss to the economy, and this is estimated. This is not actual. Estimated is far different than the actuals. Now, which are the vulnerable pockets that have impacted our economy? The highest level of stunting underweight was found in Jharkhand, Bihar, and these are the Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. These are the regions which are vulnerable to COVID and to the economy of these states. Therefore, and among them, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh are the ones which alone will contribute to about 40% of the economy. And therefore, large impact is because of these four states. The two poorest quartiles are in Meghalaya, in Haryana, Meghalaya, Karnataka, and Rajasthan. The rural people will suffer. Among the social groups, again, those who have little resources have suffered, and therefore scheduled castes and scheduled tribes from these regions may have larger impact because they don't have resources to go to the hotels like Medanta, like five-star hospitals, not hotels, hospitals, Lilavati Hospital, AIMS, any good hospital they can't afford to go. And these good hospitals have developed over time in every city. There are chains of hospitals like GM Hospital, Apollo Hospital, Columbia Asia Hospital. There are chains of hospitals which are there in every capital of this country. And these hospitals are not affordable for anybody who is poor. And therefore, larger number of deaths would take place from that community. Anyway, we have children who are likely to suffer. Now, finally, getting to a large economic impact. What is large economic impact of COVID that casts on the economy? You see, the Asian countries are likely to have larger impact. Now, GDP growth rate has contracted at minus 1.2% earlier, and now it has gone to minus 7.23%. Which means GDP has contracted to minus 7.3%. There is severe unemployment because large number of people have out-migrated. Out-migration was made compulsory because there was a closure of the markets. There was hardly any place to sell their products. Because of that, because of out-migration, because of closure of the economic activities, there was increased poverty and increase in inequality. In fact, a large number of resources, large number of amount of money was transferred to the health sector. And in that, to the large number of hospitals, doctors, medical profession, to pharmacies, to medicines, and that created a huge inequality. And advantage was taken of this particular pandemic by the people who were in businesses. Small businesses and unorganized businesses closed, but big businesses like pharmacy, earlier a strip of Bicossules or a strip of Zincovit was selling at 10 to 12 rupees. 10 to 12 rupees. Today it is 45 and 50 rupees. Something which has, the material is same. Everything is same. The same 10 tablets. But then it was costing 12 rupees. Now it costs 50 rupees. The difference between this was made up as profit by the businesses which are in pharmacy. The estimated global loss is something 5.8 to 8.8 trillion US dollars. But now, with the second wave completing, the estimates are not available. But what I heard from the newspaper reports, it is 17 trillion US dollars as global loss. The estimated GDP loss of India during the second wave or at the end of second wave was 13.3 lakh crores. 30.3 lakh crores. Now, after the second wave, when the second lockdown in Delhi, Madras, Bangalore, Calcutta, everywhere after the second, this lockdown, recent lockdown, the estimated GDP loss has been estimated at 120 lakh crores. 120 lakh crores, which is about 18 to 19% of our GDP. Now, what has happened is India's GDP growth has gone down by minus 7.3%. It is contracted. This is reflection of wave 1. The contribution to the overall GDP is nil. Then services sector contracted by 16%. The manufacturing GDP has contracted by 7.2%. The meaning of contracted is gone down by 16%, gone down by 7.2%, but agriculture has grown by 3.4% because COVID did not reach agriculture sector. However, the money transferred to agriculture sector was not big enough. The contribution to overall GDP by services sector is 55%. Manufacturing has come down to 17%, and agriculture has remained at 17.8%. Now, what is the expected impact of the second wave? The contraction 8.2 to 9.3% overall growth contraction, significantly lower than wave 1, but it will be higher contribution by agriculture in the wave after the end of second wave. Now, you have seen earlier the same thing, that we are on the downturn. We are on the downturn here, and we may reach at about 4.3%, 4.3%. That is up to here. Up to here will reach, which is less than 4.5%, because this is 1920 quarter 2. We are now 2021 quarter 2. So 2021 quarter 2, we are likely to reach at 4.3%. Now, need to look post COVID-19. What is the need? There is a reverse migration. Reverse migration had two effects. It is people who have moved to the villages, so they lost their jobs in the cities. They have left their were vital in the city itself because they were temporarily located in the city. They have also lost the money that they saved because they had to go back to their village. Second, because they left out of the job, the productivity in their work earlier has come down, production has come down. This is three-pronged effect. One, that the workplaces which they were working earlier have closed down. Two, whatever they had saved is spent, so they became they were brought down to original level. Three, that since they have to travel, they have to spend whatever they have, and thus they were pushed under poverty and no jobs in rural areas. Manufacturing sector has shrunk, and the fear psychosis made even small and big units to close down. Health infrastructure has proved totally inadequate, even in the metropolitan cities. Forget about villages. In fact, in the villages, it is pathetic. Government had very delayed response in the labor movement. Agriculture supply chain collapsed because of the harvest getting wasted. Rural workforce swelled, and in addition to new entrants, difficult to find the jobs for many. The rural dependency ratio has increased because all these migrants, reverse migrants, went back to their original houses in the rural areas where maybe old man and lady was staying with one son or so, and suddenly a full family of 2 brothers, 2 sister-in-laws and 4 children travel back to the village. Suddenly the dependency ratio has increased in the villages. As the dependency ratio increases, the food requirement in the villages also increase. Some food was provided by the government, but was that sufficient? CMIE had given unemployment rates, and unemployment had increased. Highest unemployment increase was in this period, in these places. Where? In this. That is higher education to graduate. In fact, unemployment was not so much felt here. Why? Because they were ready to work anything. These people, they had the dignity of work, and therefore they were not really working, and that's why the unemployment is high here as compared to here. But overall, unemployment is high because everything was closed. It had increased to 7.73% in urban areas, 6.98% in rural areas, and 7.23% in aggregate. Today, unemployment is something between 6 and 7% in the country. Now, unemployment creates a few problems. One is that cultivators would like to leave cultivation. They would like to leave cultivation, and as you can see, almost 59, you see, 59.9 lakh cultivators between 1991 and 2011 had left. Now, none of these years from 91 to 2011, there was no COVID or nothing. Where have the cultivators gone? Now, since there was a COVID, certainly there are a large number of cultivators who would have left cultivation, and large number of agricultural laborers would have added to this 583 lakhs. Therefore, the rural areas will have very high dependency ratio, and there can be food shortages, there can be increased poverty in rural areas. Now, in the sectoral view, what in agriculture, manufacturing, international trade, services, in these sectors, what are the kind of impacts that we have seen? The first kind of impact that we have seen is the land. Now, as the rural immigrants came back, they would ask their land share. The technology machine will stop because there will be hardly any work in the bigger manufacturing sector. Technology application requires a quiet mind, and many of the technologists will sit at home. Markets and prices will soar, and as I told long back, that it is likely to increase inflation, because earlier the there is a supply constraint, and because market opens up to 10 a.m. you have to go and buy it, so people buy it at any price. As savings drop, investment will also drop. As investment drops, there will be less and less number of new enterprises, and as the new enterprises, economy will further shrink. Same thing is true as far as manufacturing. The small and medium enterprises will not have employment. They will shrink their labor power. They will reduce their investment. Unemployment will increase, and casualization of workforce, that hire and fire kind of workers, will always be there. Safety nets have to be sufficiently built. True that the government has tried, every government, and in fact, I was told that Orissa is the best safety net programs. International trade is more or less standstill because we are spreading the eggs in many baskets earlier. Now it will be difficult. We have to put the eggs in a single basket, and as the basket collapses, possibly our eggs will also break. Services sector again depends on the total on the unorganized labor, and that is something backbone of services sector. Now, with this, I have painted a picture which looks very gloomy. I know there are many youngsters in the audience, and they'll say, sir, now what is going to happen to us? Nothing is going to happen, because India has come out of many such strong impacts, and I have seen, you saw my gray hairs, I have seen India has come out of many such impossibilities. One impossibility was 1964-65, 65-66 drought, along with war with Pakistan. Another impossibility before that was 1962 war with China. We had hardly anything to eat, and we had to beg everywhere in the world. Third impossibility was 72-73 drought. Almost the entire central India had collapsed. Next impossibility was 1991 economic reforms was compelled because we had almost vacated our coffers. And then the last one was the pandemic. Now, what are the revival steps? I call them at Saptapadi. Saptapadi is taken at the time of marriage. That is, 7 vows are taken. What are the 7 steps that we need to? First, money to the poor will certainly help, but that would require for years. Please don't speak. Please don't speak in between. Somebody who has kept the mic on, please shut it. To create employment support to small scale industries. Large manufacturing will be more interested in paring down the debts and postponing the capex, helping the large manufacturing in that has been done by the government. Small exporters need to have a proper export window. We have not yet done it. Reduce the currency conversion charges to 2 to 3% of export earnings. Encourage industries that will have strong backward and forward linkages. This is first step in order to put the economy on the path to grow. Second step is the real estate, which is really a backbone of a large number of industries like cement, steel, electrical appliances, interior decoration, and especially the casual labor. Reducing the circle rates, stamp duty, registration charges, and helping to complete the incomplete projects will put the real estate back in this place. Along with that, there should be insurance for the casual workers working on the real estate projects. Third, it helps the dependent industries, starting from all I listed it out, reducing circle rates, and all that will help a lot for the real estate. Fourth, remove all restriction on e-commerce. It will help to keep the growth engine running by supporting manufacturers as well as the retail chain, and especially allow the e-commerce to grow so that people can buy things at home and not venture out. Fifth, price cap has failed to make masks and sanitizers cheaper. Price cap has failed in medical profession, in pharmacy, in all the things that are required, in medical. In fact, the surgeries and the rest of the things have become so costly that even a middle class or upper middle class can't afford. It is necessary to bring some control on these hospitals. Sixth, better to remove the reverse corporate tax cuts temporarily. The corporate tax cuts have been given, slightly remove it for some time so that there will be some good employment oriented corporate activities will begin. The affluent households who drive consumer demand for high-value discretionary items such as consumer durables, education, health, recreation will have to spend. Unless they spend, there will be less employment created. Relief on direct and indirect taxes they have to pay on their consumption will decap the household's demand. Seventh, between rising import duties and letting rupee weaken, we should opt for the latter. Let us welcome 80 rupees per dollar, doesn't matter. But then it is better to check unnecessary imports and support indigenous manufacturing, and yet will encourage exports. And encouraging exports with the value of rupee going up will be a little tough task to do. I think with these 7 steps, we will be able to get onto. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. Now we would like to move to the Q&A session. I would like to hand over the microphone to Mr. Sanjay Das, sir. Over to you, Sanjay, sir. Sanjay, sir, are you there? Our participants can also ask, you can directly ask questions to our resource person. If you have any questions, please ask.
There is one question in the chat box. That is, the prices of the inputs in the real estate have increased. Yes, this is something that every industrialist will try to take benefit of some sort of difficulty in the businesses. They do this purposefully, that I told you that B complex, which used to cost hardly 5 to 7 rupees, now costs 45 rupees. There is nothing increased in it. There is no change in the drug. There is no change in the raw material. There is no change in the packing. But still, from some 7 rupees to 45 rupees is the urge to earn more profit. And this urge to make more profit in the cement, steel, and other industries wherever it is possible. I remember that one of my driver's mother expired and they asked 30,000 rupees to transfer the body from the hospital to the burial ground and another 20,000 to give to the staff who have dug the hole and had helped to put the body in. Now look here, that when 50,000 has to be spent and you are not able to touch the body, you are not able to see it from near, you can see it only from a distance. Many people therefore abandoned the bodies of their near and dear ones, that they said, gave hospital, okay, you take 20,000 and do whatever you want. Therefore, there are instances where bodies were thrown or bodies were buried near the river or in any place wherever they find it. Yes.
Sir, one question from my side. What would be the policy suggestions for the revival of the Indian economy?
I've given you 7 steps. I've given you 7 steps in the end of it. Possibly you might have heard them.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Indian tourism industry has been hit very hard. There is one thing is, unless the impact of this third wave goes down, it should not be opened up. In fact, instead of that, those who are casual workers in the tourism industry may be provided cash help, like it has been done in case of small vendors, etc.
Sanjay sir, is there any question in the chat box that you have noted down?
There is only one question raised by Dipamani, already attended. So I do not see any questions right now in the chat box.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you once again for your wonderful presentation, Dr. Deshpande sir, and for taking the time off from your busy schedule for being with us virtually. And it has been a pleasure hosting you. And I'm sure you would come and visit us sometime in person. To proceed with, may I please request Mr. Sanjay Das, Head Department of Geography and Assistant Coordinator IQAC, to propose a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you, Jasnali. I am Sanjay Das from the Department of Geography, Sibsagar Girls College. Congratulate all present in the webinar. We are very fortunate enough to have Dr. Deshpande sir, an eminent figure in Indian economy. To have him as the resource person in our webinar. So our heartfelt gratitude goes to Dr. Deshpande sir. And secondly, we are also indebted highly to the Principal Budhin Mishra sir, Vice Principal Rita Borgotiki Baidu, IQAC Coordinator Dibjunali Baidu, and the teacher staff and the students and other participants present in the webinar today. And with this, I conclude my vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. And from organizing committee, once again, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all, and we hope that everyone is safe in this distressing time. Thank you all. We can now wind up the session.